This t-shirt got delivered to me right on time because my goodness, Sarada was the MVP of today's episode. Overall, this episode is a classic. The writing was on point and I really enjoyed it. My favorite episode of the series is episode 53. My second favorite is episode 23. And this one could potentially be my third favorite. There's a lot of episodes that I really enjoyed. But, as I said, I really enjoyed this episode. And without further ado, let's get into Boruto episode 60 review.
俺は忍びだ。
Obviously, in today's episode, we had the final semi-final matches. Sarada versus Araya and Mitsuki versus Shinki. So let's start off by, talking about the first fight, which was Sarada versus Araya. Now, this fight is my favorite fight of the episode, and both fights were amazing. First of all, Araya has been this mysterious character ever since he was introduced. We didn't know much about him, and today we kind of went a bit deeper when it comes to his character. We kind of got to know some of his character traits, or at least one of them. And that's something that I really enjoy. So obviously at the start of the fight, we had some taijutsu between Sarada and Araya. Araya was just magnificent when it came to his moves. Later on, Sarada said you had like robotic movements or something like that, which really does make sense because it was just out of this world. And obviously Sarada was barely keeping up with her Sharingan, and we all know how overpowered Sharingan is, despite the fact that Sarada has one Tomo Sharingan at the moment in the Boruto series. Now, there was, I don't want to say a lot of blood, but there was definitely some blood in this fight, which was, it's always, enjoyable seeing something like that because it really shows how serious the fight is. And overall, I mean, I talked about this in the past multiple times. I'm not gonna get too deep into it right now, but the tone shifted heavily in the last, I'd say, 10 episodes, ever since episode 50. Yeah, exactly. That was the recap episode, and as I said, the tone shifted after that, which is something that I'm, really enjoying. Anyway, as Sarada was fighting against Araya, she tried to do genjutsu, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it worked for a second, but it didn't. And anyway, she kept fighting, she kept analyzing Araya, and this is something that she's been doing throughout the Boruto series really well, because obviously, she's intelligent, right? And, we see Sarada using the lightning jutsu that she copied from Buntan. That was a nice callback to the Mist arc and to her fight against Buntan. Sarada versus Buntan is my favorite fight of the series. Well, it was my favorite fight up until this episode. And right now, I think that my favorite fight of the Boruto series is Sarada versus Araya, which is, it's not because of the action, just because of the action. It's because of Sarada's analysis throughout this episode, or I should say throughout this fight, and how nicely it was executed, right? But anyway, I'm gonna get into that. She does that jutsu, and basically she hits the roof, I guess, of the arena. I mean, not roof, but you get the point. And by the way, it was nice seeing Metal, kicking the things that were, about to fall down, and he probably saved a couple of people. That was really nice, seeing Metal with Konoha Senpu. And by the way, seeing Iwabe, Metal, and Denki throughout this episode interacting from time to time, it was also really nice. Because, especially Denki and Iwabe, out of all side characters, they got the most progression in the series, in the Boruto series so far. And, this lets us know that they're still there. Obviously, they got kicked out, but they're still there. They are, cheering for us and, for their friends, stuff like that. That was really enjoyable. I believe we even saw Wasabi, Namida, and Sumire, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think they said anything. So, yeah. But anyway, going back to Araya versus Sarada, right? She noticed that, basically Araya was controlling a puppet, and, she explained everything. I'm not gonna, rephrase her explanation. You saw the episode, which really showed how intelligent she really is, and that's something that I really enjoyed, especially the line when she said, like, you didn't do enough research or something like that. Later on, she even said, don't underestimate us, he didn't leave village ninjas, because obviously Sarada really has a strong bond with the village and the people that are inside of it. Even at the start of the episode, when she was with her classmates, everybody was like, they were motivating her, and she was like, I'm gonna become the Hokage. She repeats that a lot of times, which is something that I'm really enjoying. It's, will of fire at its best, right? And anyway, Araya, now this is the interesting part. When I was, talking about Araya's character traits, or I should say one trait, Araya was very nervous. And, in the episode, I think Iwabe commented how, he's similar to Metal Lee, and there was this parallel between Araya and Metal, right? Now, some people were kind of disappointed with this. I wasn't. I was definitely expecting Araya to be some super badass character, but, just because I expected this and the fact that it didn't happen doesn't mean that it's bad writing. The Boruto series takes a lot of risks. It does a lot of things differently than other shonen anime. Let me just give you 2 examples. Do you remember Udon's snot release? At first glance, this seems like something that's lame, stupid, useless because he's using fucking snot, right? But in fact, he managed to save, his students, and he was basically a hero in that episode. Furthermore, that moment was symbolic because, in that episode, Udon was trying to explain how, despite how you look and how people looked at you in the past, you can still be a hero or something like that. But anyway, we have that situation where something that looks lame, quote unquote lame, is actually very quote unquote cool and heroish. And now we see this character with this, evil-looking mask, if that makes sense, this quiet character. But actually, he has some, confidence problems, and he's very similar to Metal in that sense. Yes, the writers could have had, Udon doing some badass jutsu because he's a Jonin and defending his team. Yes, they could have had, Araya staying badass and just losing, but, they're playing with it. They're showing different perspectives, so to say, and they're showing us how not everything is, like, the way we see certain things at first glance, it's not guaranteed that those things are necessarily like that, and Udon and Araya are perfect examples of that. Or I should say Udon's jutsu and Araya. Sarada did realize that, Araya was controlling the puppet, and it's funny because when Araya was talking, I guess through the puppet or something like that, his voice seemed different, right? I think that was the first time he talked. I'm not really sure, because a couple of episodes ago when Shinki's team was introduced, Shinki said a couple of lines. He was talking to Gaara. I don't know if Araya said something then. It's not really relevant. I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but I just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, Sarada realized that, he was controlling a puppet and everything. And at the end, when Araya was freaking out, he started attacking Sarada, and she did Fireball Jutsu. Now, the first time we saw Sarada using Fireball Jutsu, I mean, technically it's this, like in this fight, like when we look at the Boruto timeline, but actually she used it in Boruto chapter 19, I believe, or 18. I'm not really sure. And, I remember at that time we were all surprised, but, it makes sense because she's an Uchiha. I know recently two novels were released, and in one of those novels it was stated that Sasuke taught Sarada Fireball Jutsu. I thought it was going to be after the Chunin exams or something like that, but looks like he did it in this period, in the middle of the exams. And that was really nice. At first, when she did the jutsu, I was like, come on, she needs to at least mention the fact that Sasuke taught her this, or we should get this scene. So I was kind of disappointed, but we got it later on in the episode. And that's when I was really satisfied, when she mentioned it when she talked to Sakura. But anyway, despite the fact that she says that her Fireball Jutsu isn't too good or whatever, it was pretty nice, especially when we take into consideration that she used it for the first time in battle. Obviously, she beats Araya, and that was a really enjoyable fight. Sarada's comments throughout the fight and everything. She's a super likable character. Mitsuki versus Shinki. I've been telling this for the past couple of weeks when I was, discussing with many people. I said he's not going to use Sage Mode because Orochimaru told him, yo, you can't use Sage Mode if you want to stay here. And obviously he wasn't going to do it. Interesting fact, in this episode, Mitsuki said, even if I was serious, I don't know if I would have beaten Shinki. I believe that if Mitsuki truly used Sage Mode, he would defeat Shinki. Obviously, we haven't seen Shinki's full power either, but I feel like Mitsuki would beat him. But it's just an assumption that I'm making. Fuck, hard pronouncing these two words together. Forgive me, I'm from Serbia. Anyway, this fight was also really, really enjoyable. It was hyped up for such a long time, and it started off really well. Mitsuki trying to, I guess, attack Shinki, but Shinki's Iron Sand is just too fucking strong. In the end, I mean, not in the end, but when Shinki caught Mitsuki, he did this, and we all know that Gaara's jutsu, I believe it was called Sand Burial, I might be wrong, but anyway, he would also, I guess, catch you, and then he would just do this, and you would die. So, I don't know if let's say, if Mitsuki stayed there without, avoiding it, would he die? I believe that was literally a jutsu that would have killed him or something like that. But obviously, he has this same thing that Orochimaru has where, snakes can save him in pretty much any situation. Because, like, Orochimaru, even when you're stronger than Orochimaru, he's not gonna fucking die, right? So, I wasn't surprised by that at all. And, anyway, at one point Mitsuki does some snake jutsu. I can't remember the exact name. It doesn't really matter. And, Shinki kind of avoids it, and then, Mitsuki grabs him and pulls him inside, and literally he goes underneath the surface of the arena, right? Which was, for some reason I laughed at that point, but yeah, anyway, it was cool, but obviously Shinki wasn't gonna get caught. And this is the big moment. Shinki obviously mentioned how he knows that Mitsuki has this superpower, I guess. I mean, he didn't use that term, but you get the point. And he wanted to see that power, right? Mitsuki asked him during the fight, did I surprise you a little bit? He was like, yes, but my father told me that I should always keep my guard, so to say. And obviously, Gaara fought a lot of people in the past. And, I immediately thought about Rock Lee versus Gaara when, Shinki was telling Mitsuki how Gaara taught him a very important lesson. And anyway, as I said earlier, I knew that he was not going to use Sage Mode. Come on. But this moment was written really well. As the Iron Sand is going towards Mitsuki, he looks at Boruto, and there's this moment of silence. He obviously looks at both Sarada and Boruto, but, Mitsuki has this moon-sun relationship with Boruto, obviously, which is very, very deep. And just the way that moment was written, how dramatic it was executed perfectly. And he just casually says, I give up. At the end, and Shinki stops. You can see Shinki being, so to say, triggered, angry. And, when you have a calm character like that, seeing something like that is really enjoyable. It's good writing, if you know what I'm saying. Excuse me. And, he repeats it again because... excuse me, because Shinki couldn't believe it. He repeats again, I give up. And, Rock Lee comes into the play and, he repeats it again, I guess. I don't really know. But that moment, I really, really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people wanted to see Sage Mode Mitsuki versus Shinki. But that moment, like when he looked at Boruto, it should tell you how much he cares for Boruto. And he even says, when, Shinki... When he's talking to Shinki, he told him this wouldn't be convenient for my father or for my parent. Obviously, because, Orochimaru is kind of both mother and father, which is fucked up to say. But yeah, Orochimaru is a mom and he's a dad. Anyway, he says this wouldn't be convenient for my parent or something like that. And, Shinki was like, I was wrong about you. And, when Boruto and Sarada approached Mitsuki, he said... I'd like to be more with you or something like that. And this kind of got me a bit scared. It almost felt like it was foreshadowed that eventually Mitsuki is going to have to leave them. Because obviously Orochimaru could be plotting something you can't really be sure with Orochimaru. I mean, you saw him experimenting during the Naruto Gaiden arc. He was mentioned in the Hidden Mist arc, and he's very suspicious still, despite the fact that he's quote unquote good now. So that kind of scared me because Mitsuki is my third favorite next gen character, and I really, really like his character. So eventually, if Mitsuki is forced to leave, that's gonna be very, very emotional for sure. And obviously, Boruto and Sarada were surprised about that. And overall, these two fights, they were unique. And they were just enjoyable. I don't know how to describe it. I felt like the actual fights, like I'm not referring to any quotes, to any, I guess, emotions regarding the fights. Just when it comes to pure action, this episode is an improvement from the last episode. Definitely, in my honest opinion, because obviously this is subjective. But anyway, after these two fights, we have a couple of great interactions at the end of the episode between Sarada and Sakura, and between Sasuke and Boruto. Obviously, I don't want to. I guess I want to mention this, right? Gaara was was seen looking at the fights a couple of times, and this episode really shows how important Shinki is to him, because obviously Shinki is Gaara's adopted son. Even when Araya was about to give up or whatever, Shinki screamed his name or something like that, and Araya was like, Shinki. Everybody gets, like, Shinki, when Shinki speaks, everybody gets this huge amount of respect, right? Because Shinki's so fucking badass. And all these tiny details, I just wanted to kind of mention them because I enjoyed those moments. But anyway, the scene with Sarada and Sakura was really enjoyable. Sarada, when talking to her mom, is really mature. Because, Sakura tells her, you were so reckless today. And then she's like, I guess that's because I'm your daughter or whatever. Because, she acknowledges the fact that she was reckless. But still, she makes a joke out of it. It was really, really nice. And, that's when Sarada mentioned Sasuke and Fireball Jutsu. And then Sakura was like, Sasuke comes late at night sometimes. Which was a very cheeky moment, if you get what I'm saying. But it was just enjoyable. Also seeing Sakura healing Sarada, because obviously the final match is about to happen. And this part of the episode specifically is my favorite part of the episode. Sasuke and Boruto. Obviously, Sasuke does Chidori. She shows it to Boruto. I made a video many months ago. I think it was summer 2017. And in this video, I said how I don't think that Boruto is going to learn the Chidori because it doesn't make sense. And that he's probably going to add lightning release to the Rasengan, which is something that Kakashi failed. And this episode pretty much confirms it, because Sasuke showed him Chidori in order to tell him, yo, one day you can learn some jutsu on the level of Chidori, some lightning style jutsu. Because Boruto was like, can you teach me the Chidori? And then he was like, he didn't exactly say this, but he basically told him that it wouldn't be too effective without the Sharingan. And I'm not going to spoil it if you don't read the Boruto manga, but in the Boruto manga recently, he got one lightning style jutsu that kind of confirms that it's pointless for him to learn the Chidori. And I still feel like he could add lightning release to the Rasengan, which will be much, much stronger than the Chidori. That's all I'm going to say. But that was cool. But when I said that, this part of the episode was my favorite, I was referring to this. It was when Sasuke was self-reflecting and, when he was talking to Boruto about a man who tried to change the world, who tried to take all this power without considering the methods. And oh my god, I teared up while watching this because I immediately had flashbacks, of Sasuke's journey, of his character progression. I thought about, Naruto and Sasuke at the final, at the Valley of the End. I'm referring to the first fight when Sasuke told him, you never had a family, so how could you possibly know this feeling of losing everybody, right? I had all these flashbacks and I teared up. And the funny thing is that, I saw the episode and I had to do some other things, right? And before this review, I just wanted to rewatch that scene once again, the Boruto Sasuke scene where he, mentions his past, and I teared up again. And as I'm speaking right now, I'm getting goosebumps. I really, really, really enjoyed that moment. And the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because you can clearly see Boruto and Sasuke bonding. Sasuke pretty much doesn't even know how to express his emotions when it comes to his own daughter in some cases, which was seen in the Naruto Gaiden arc. I'm not saying that he can't do it completely, but sometimes he struggles showing his emotions, or he shows them in a different way. And the fact that Sasuke told this, the fact that Sasuke said this to Boruto shows that he's trying to make a bond with him. The way I saw it, he kind of wanted to see what Boruto's comment to this would be. He kind of doesn't want him to go that same path, even though it's very unlikely. Like, why would Boruto take that path? Sasuke still kind of mentioned it, and the fact that he's getting closer with Boruto made it comfortable enough for him to tell this to Boruto. He didn't specifically say it was me, right? But still, he kind of talked about himself in the third person. And the soundtrack, guys, please, I'm not even joking. After you finish watching this review, because we're about to end it in a bit, if you haven't heard the soundtrack that was playing when Boruto and Sasuke were talking, please open the episode. It's near the end. Play it. It was so nice. I tried finding it on YouTube, but I realized that it's an unreleased soundtrack. There's this version on YouTube, but the quality is horrible. Not average, but horrible. You barely hear anything. And I was extremely disappointed, but it was so emotional, it was so beautiful, and it was just iconic, right? So if you haven't heard it, because it wasn't too loud, it was relatively quiet, go back to that scene and rewatch it and just focus on the soundtrack. It was beautiful. And Boruto saying, in short, that means that friends are important, and I have great people that surround me, which foreshadows that he's gonna lose a lot of these people, which is clearly seen in the first episode and in the 10th chapter of the Boruto manga, when a certain someone gives a certain prophecy. Oh my goodness, that moment was written really well. My personal favorite moment of the episode. The rating, 10 out of 10. It has been a while since I gave 10 out of 10 to any episode, but honestly, great fights, unique fights, great soundtrack, great interactions, great dialogue. The Sasuke and Boruto scene at the end, which foreshadows a lot. Both the fact that Boruto will learn OP lightning abilities in the future, and that he's gonna lose a lot of friends, or at least some really, really close friends. And Sasuke's self-reflection and bond with Boruto. Obviously the Sarada greatness in this episode. I loved every bit of this episode, and honestly, 10 out of 10 for me. That was your boy Channel Hokage. Twitter and Discord links are in the description below. If you're new to the channel and if you're into Boruto, consider subscribing. Let me know what you think about this episode in the comment section, because I'll be reading all the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.